The only country you have, unless there are people here with dual citizenship.
So now across the world, most lakes fed by rivers and streams have played an important role in human civilization and development. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, that is UNEP, these lakes contain about 90% of the fresh water on the planet's surface, breeds an array of aquatic life and make possible farming, fishing and industry. Yet, due to climate change, pollution, mining, population pressure and unsustainable land use, they're receding at an unprecedented rate. Here in Kenya, the condition of most urban rivers is deteriorating. As KTN's Purity Museo now reports, there is little space for the rivers to flow. And besides trash, runoff and other waste materials, the urban rivers have become dumping sites for those living and working along their course.
Rivers are vital. They provide fresh drinking water for man and beast. Unfortunately, rivers remain threatened. Nairobi, Kenya's capital. The name comes from the Maasai phrase Enkare Nairobi, which translates to the place of cool waters. Nairobi is also popularly known as the Green City under the sun. The city is built on a mix of rainforest and savanna grassland, sloping southwards with several rivers running through it. But the city has grown and its infrastructure has failed to keep up. This has resulted in massive sewage, chemicals and trash releases into the Nairobi River, choking its flow, killing wildlife and posing health hazard to people living and working along its course.
In the next several years from now, maybe next 20, 30, 40 years, water demand will keep on increasing tremendously. And it will be one of the most costly natural resources that would ever be competed for.
The source of the Nairobi River is Ondiri Swamp, located in Kikuyu, Kiambu County. Formerly a lake, it became a swamp as deforestation and erosion resulted in plants overrunning the lake, transforming it into a floating pitbed, the only one of its kind in Kenya.
The swamp has always have had water, but right now it has dried up. Also, when you notice the swamp right now, you can see there's a lot of people who are still grazing inside the swamp. They are bringing the cows inside the swamp for the feeds. We are also having issues of dumping of not really raw sewage, but dumping of household waste.
On its way, the river is used as a source of water for irrigation and livestock. However, pollution is taking a toll on the river and the community is to blame.
Jina langu naitwa Joseph Washira. Mimi ni mkaaji wa hapa Kikuyu, lakini nakujanga kufulia nguo hapa kwa hii swamp kwa maana kuna uhaba wa maji. Na kila wiki nakujaga mara kama mbili.
We do know, all of us, including the children really, that pollution in the rivers has got their consequences. Starting from materials dispatched into the rivers, plus the washing of cars, the washing of clothes, the bathing of people, and anything that is thrown in the rivers does not allow that water to be pure.
The river flows through a ravine past villages amidst dense vegetation, and as it approaches the city, its color changes. The sight of plastic bags, water bottles and other non-biodegradable waste become unavoidable. The state of the river along Gitanga Road, which is in the Lavington area, Nairobi. The condition of the river progressively worsens as it snakes downstream.
The difference between the water that we found at the Ondiri Swamp, which is the main source of water for the Nairobi River, and this particular one is like day and night. I mean, this water is clearly dirty. It's black. It has a lot of dirt, materials, plastic papers, bottles, and above all, it really smells really bad.
Dennis and his 2 friends have lived along the Nairobi River for some time now.
Hii maji ikiwa hivyo, aizo unaweza pata magonjwa. Magonjwa nayo unaweza pata kama kipindupindu. Juu unaweza enda na huko hivyo ukuje hakuna maji, pengine inabidi tu umenawa na hii.
The smell from the contaminated river, they say, is the least of their problems. They have a place to call home.
The biggest problem is what we discharge into the rivers from effluent, solid waste, liquid wastes, chemicals that are discharged into the river are the ones causing this pollution.
As seen at the Globe roundabout, there is little space for the river to flow. Besides trash, runoff, other waste materials, the riverbank is also a dumping site for those in the central business district.
Ideally, there is a principle that someone can be ordered to restore the environment. If you have polluted, you are told that this is what you have done. So take an action that is going to restore, plant trees, treat your sewer and all that.
In August 2017, Kenya banned plastic bags with heavy penalties declared for possessing the polythene items, including up to 4 years imprisonment or a fine of up to $40,000. The campaign to ban single-use plastic items began in Nairobi River, from where it was baptized the river that banned plastic. But for now, there is thorough cleaning to be done before the river itself is free from offending material, if what we also witnessed at the city's botanical garden, John Mishuki Memorial Park, is anything to go by.
What we lack, and I must say it right away, is really the control ourselves in discipline in what we should do, what we should discharge into the river. Nothing should be discharged. Polythene bags, solids, metals, chemicals, name them. They would be found in any river in an urban area.
A 2017 scientific study conducted by Kevin Kenja on the pollution of urban waterways in Nairobi with a case of Mathare 4B village revealed high microbial contamination associated with untreated or partially treated sewage effluent. Poor sanitation has been linked to transmission of diarrhea diseases such as cholera and dysentery, as well as typhoid, intestinal worm infections, and polio.
You find that these toxins are consumed by humans and therefore end up causing serious problems like cancer. We have miscarriages coming from these problems, and we have things like impotence in men coming from lead pollution.
The polluted river leaves the city and flows through grassland, where it meets the Athi River until it eventually meets the Indian Ocean.
What you throw in water is what you consume. And the dying water now comes into play because everybody, you will not survive without water. 80%, 70% of your body.
Down on the banks of River Chania in Thika, Kiambu County, the river's source is in Aberdare Forest, and it flows through the heart of Thika town until it eventually meets Tana River, which empties into the Indian Ocean. As the river cuts through the bustling industrial town, some locals wash their clothes and shoes downstream. Others are taking a cold shower on the other end.
Hii maji huwa inatusaidia sana kwa kufua na kuosha juu unajua makastoma wanataka watu wasafi. So lazima tupitie hapa, tugarishe ndio tuingie haso.
For George Mwangi Gitau, this river has been a lifeline for many generations.
After 2 days nakuja hapa naosha pikipiki yangu, na saa hii asubuhi ama masaa ya jioni nakuja naing'arisha, alafu then naenda kazi, sababu mimi naamini katika usafi ni kitu muhimu sana mbele ya Mungu.
Washing on a river, spraying water, and that water ends up in the river, killing fish, any life in that fish.
The water is clean as it makes entry into the city, but as it flows down its course, waste materials of all kinds highlight the sleepy river. Industries have sprung up along the river course.
Some of the industries produce toxic chemicals like lead, mercury, things that are very detrimental to human health and also aquatic life.
In Majengo area in Thika, we follow a stream of sewage to the river. It is difficult to differentiate the sewage flow and that of the actual river. It cuts across a vegetation farm downstream. This is the point where the sewage that we've been following from upstream joins the river Chania. And this explains why the waters right here are quite different in terms of color from what we saw at the entry of the river into the city of Thika. This poison is consumed by water-based animal species and hundreds of thousands of people who depend on the river for their drinking water, thereby putting their health at risk.
Discharge into the river, into the lake, into the ocean is a very, very serious offense. So let me not even explain to you the consequences that comes through. Here you are discharging raw seawater into the river, into the water. Nobody, no fish, nothing will survive downstream.
Article 22 of the Constitution provides that anyone can move to court if there is threatened contravention of the Constitution or if he thinks the government has done any action or has omitted to take any action to protect them.
According to the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, globally, an estimated 2 billion people rely directly on rivers for their drinking water, and 500 million people, approximately 1 in 14 on Earth, live on deltas that are sustained by sediment from rivers. United Nations Environment Program UNEP further warns that this is a last chance decade for both biodiversity and climate. Up to 1 million species are threatened by extinction and many ecosystems are at risk of collapse.
Can we have our laws work? Can we have certain punitive, reasonably punitive measures to disallow discharge, to allow riparians move out, to allow some sort of cleaning up on what we have? Finally, the most important is ensure that the sources of these streams, rivers, are indeed protected, particularly the wetland areas.
The revelation is a clarion call to the government of Kenya through concerned departments to warm up and avert the looming irreversible biodiversity decimating catastrophe. Purity Museo, KTN News.